Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, John Nye, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast presented by Omaha Steaks. Head over to omahasteaks.com right now. Type code DAWGS into the search bar, and right now you're getting 12 free burgers with your order. A lot of these deals, they throw out like you get 4 free burgers. Sometimes they do 8. Right now they're doing 12. That's pretty awesome. So go check that out. You got Josh All, Justin Charles, and we're bringing in Derek Frisbee for this episode of the Dawgs Podcast today. How you guys doing?
Go ahead, Derek. You're the guest, bro. Get it in, man. Get it in.
Doing good. We talked a little bit before the show, but just really busy. It's that weird point in the off season where it's training camp getting to preseason, but we're not there yet. It's just fun times.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm getting excited. I'm getting a lot of updates on fantasy football stuff.
Oh, man.
I just don't know if I'm popular anymore or if it's just them notifying me about a number one running back signing for a year or something like that. Who knows?
Well, every alert that I get, I'm afraid it's going to be bad news for the Browns, which unfortunately we do have a little bit of that to touch on today. So we're going to go through our camp notes, kind of what's come out, good news, bad news from that so far. And then want to dive into a little bit with Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski, some of the reports coming out, some of their comments. And then I'm going to dive into a little bit of Deshaun Watson's background, growing up, his childhood and things. It's there's a lot of stuff about him I learned that I didn't know. So it all ties into what they're doing at training camp over there in West Virginia right now. So before we dive into everything, make sure you check us out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and I think it's now X. Is that right? It's not
That's
Twitter.
right.
It's not Twitter,
I'm seeing some
right?
X.
Yeah.
X won't give it to you.
Okay.
Which the Simpsons predicted. I don't know if y'all saw it. It could be fake. Could be totally fake. I don't know, but I saw it on Instagram that this is yet another Simpsons prediction come true. So I think it's time to investigate those guys. This is what, the 80th thing that's happened?
It's becoming every couple months thing. They hit a big one. So
well, that's interesting. So yeah, so we're over on X, we're on Threads, anywhere you can social media, we're probably there. So last thing before we dive in, guys, go to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member, and join fantasy. If you want to play fantasy football with us, now's the time. Leagues are filling up. We've gotten, I had quite a few people signed up yet today. There's still room. There's still spots. So if you sign up for Patreon, you want to play fantasy, you're in. Just let us know you want to play. You're in. But you can play with me, Justin, Blake, John, Derek, Kenny Mack, everybody you see on the show. We're all in there playing fantasy football, plus everybody else inside that diehard Browns community. It's just a ton of fun, great place to be.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see if I become the two-time Dawgs podcast fantasy champion.
Ooh, okay. So there we go. Someone's got to come in and take Justin down.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've yet to do decently in any of the Dawgs leagues that we've had so far. But last year, cheap plug, I am your Browns After Dark fantasy football champion.
There you go.
So
there you go.
If I can win in one league, I think I can at least be decent in our league this year. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. Probably not, but...
So, yeah, if you want to play fantasy with us, jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. All right, so let's dive into some of this training camp buzz. So this year, the Browns are getting started earlier than normal. We've kind of been talking about that. They play in the Hall of Fame game on August 3rd, I believe it is, against the Jets. So they traveled over to West Virginia. They're at the Greenbrier, and head coach Kevin Stefanski said that he wanted to get the team away from home to kick off camp. He wants to bring everyone together for team building and chemistry. He wants the guys to really get to know their brothers, the guys that they're going to battle with. His quote was, team building and team bonding, those are organic, Stefanski said. What this allows us to do that here, obviously we're landlocked. We're in the middle of nowhere by design, and that really forces you to be around your teammates.
I like it. Very, very important for me as far as chemistry in the locker room. So if you can make, and even this offseason, we've heard that it's kind of just a different vibe than last year or years prior. So I love this. Very exciting.
Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, a lot of new pieces on this team. So it is important from the team chemistry side of things, but also this offseason, there's not as much controversy. There's still going to be, and we're going to have that for the next few years. But taking them out of Cleveland, Ohio, and putting them in a more secluded environment, that helps it that much more. Because, I mean, the amount of rookies that we brought in, we had more rookies than I think any of us thought we were going to have, if you include UDFA signings, as well as free agency. And just at some of these key positions, having Deshaun be able to work with all these new receivers, having him not have to worry about all the controversy, it's a great thing. I think it's a genius idea. And Stefanski, whoever came up with it, if it was Kevin, if it was Andrew Berry, whoever, deserves a lot of credit, because it's not an easy thing to take a team full of guys and clean everything out and get that all settled. So it's good to see, for sure.
It is. It kind of goes back. You hear people a lot of times talking about that 2020 season when, Kevin's first season, he was the head coach of the year. We went to the playoffs, all that stuff. And he did all that without a training camp, without a preseason. Everything was over Zoom. And you kind of realize when they were doing that, when they were team meetings over Zoom, there's nothing else to do except for sit there and look at the other person's face and talk. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, what Kevin said they're doing over there, it's not just about practice. It's not just about on-field chemistry. They're sitting down at, there's nothing else to do over there. Right. They're not going home to their families. They're not going out with their friends afterwards. It's the team and that's it. So at night, they're sitting down, they're talking. Everyone's getting to know each other on a deeper, more personal level. And I think this could be really good. I think we could see this team go back to what they did, that chemistry they had in 2020.
God, I hope so. God, I hope so. I can't take it anymore.
No kidding.
Yeah. So if we look ahead at the Hall of Fame game, one of the quotes from Stefanski, he said that preseason game versus the Jets, it's an awesome opportunity for our young players. So we'll really get a ton of reps for our young players in that game. So I'm thinking, do not expect, and we know this about the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
Don't expect to see any vets.
No.
Unless they're like 2-3 years into the league and still trying to make a name for themselves. Definitely no starters.
No, absolutely
you will not see
not.
a starter. You probably won't even see Cade York. I don't think you're going to see any starters.
It's going to be 4-string practice squad guys, undrafted guys. You're going to see guys that aren't going to get the usual opportunity right then and there. There will not even be anything close to starter type football that night. I'm going to that game. Who knows what the expectations are going to be for that?
Let me ask you guys a question. Maybe this will pump up your excitement for the Browns in that game. Do you think this could be the DTR show?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
So Dorian Thompson-Robinson, for you guys who haven't followed, DTR, fifth, right, Derek? Fifth round pick, fourth round pick, fifth round pick this year in the draft.
Yeah. Fifth rounder. I think we had 2 fifth rounders. He was the second of the 2.
Okay. Yeah. And he was like, I would say, just based on all the draft season hype going into draft night or draft weekend, I feel like he was the Browns guy. Like if they were going to go get a backup quarterback in this draft, DTR was at the top of that list and they went and got him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be extremely, extremely disappointed if we get to the Hall of Fame game and I show up and they go, and your starting quarterback, Kellen Mond. I'm going to go,
no.
I'm going to go get a hot dog, maybe a bag of chips or something real quick. I'll be back. But yeah, no, I am the opportunity to see some of the younger guys but even the guys we're excited about, like let's say like a Jerome Ford, I don't think we're seeing even like a Jerome Ford type guy out that night.
Nope. So, okay. So we're all kind of in agreement. Could be the DTR show. Think that's probably likely. And that makes it interesting to watch for sure. Just to see what that kid has. He was electric in college.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Set records.
What's that?
I said he set records in college. He wasn't just good. He was great.
Yeah, that's true. I know you did an entire episode on him. So if you want to kind of get the full Dorian Thompson-Robinson picture, college, draft, prospect coming into the Browns, Derek's got an episode on our channel. Go check it out. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so I guess we'll dive into some bad news from camp.
Okay.
We can kind of talk about this stuff. We had some injuries, and it kind of sucks because they all seem to be coming from the same dang position again. We found out Marquise Goodwin, who we just signed this offseason, has been placed on the NFI, which is the non-football injury list. He developed blood clots that they found in his lungs and his legs.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Of all things, especially like when you hear about like injuries and stuff like that, you're like, oh man, guy tweaked his knee a little bit. That sucks. You know, like when they announced that, I was just kind of like, maybe they probably caught something extremely important way before it got worse. Because especially if like, I'm no doctor, but blood clots and stuff like that, if it gets to your brain, it's a wrap. So for him, you know, it's kind of a blessing, but also I saw that he was working out at camp off to the side, so I don't think it's like
they said
a severe thing.
He's still at camp. He's in good spirits.
Yeah.
I think the hope is that this can be resolved at some point here. Maybe
Right.
I don't know if the hope is before the season.
I know there's no timetable right now.
Right,
They're
exactly.
basically saying like, hey, you're gonna get yourself right and everything. But yeah, tough break for him because a lot of people are excited about that signing. A ton of people. I mean,
Including
we hyped
us.
it up last week, and then you know.
Yeah, if you didn't see the clip from last week, Blake did say knock on wood, and I swear this is a real wooden table. I built it. I know it's not just dust held together. So apparently knocking on wood doesn't really count for anything.
No, it doesn't.
Blake taught us that.
Yeah.
So
Not when you're a Browns fan, no.
no, isn't that true? Anything else on Goodwin you guys wanted to mention?
Just tough break, but I mean, good for him that hopefully he gets all his, you know, health issues resolved and everything. Not even important about the football stuff, like it, you know, when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah,
just
and
get yourself fixed, man.
I find myself, you know, when I'm posting a tweet or something, I feel like I constantly have to say, you know, oh, his health is number one priority. Yes, his health is the number one priority.
Absolutely.
We are a Browns show. We are Browns fans. We were and still are excited for what he can bring to this
Absolutely.
offense. I mean, what he could do with Deshaun Watson on the field. I mean, they could have some big plays this year. So
Yep.
Yeah. I hope he's obviously okay. Like you said, number one. Obviously, that's like what you just said. I mean, everybody knows that. But, I mean, let's be honest here. On the football side of things, whether people want to admit it or not, Marquise Goodwin was going to have a much bigger role than what people thought. We actually talked about this a little, or maybe I did a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago, whenever. Marquise Goodwin played a role on this team in that wide receiver room where he, outside of Amari Cooper, really was the only veteran receiver who you can kind of rely on and be a leader of that room, sitting there at like that fourth, fifth, occasionally third wide receiver. He was going to be very valuable for you, not just on the field, but in the locker room. So if he's unable to be with the team, obviously have your health first. You know, if you have to step away, then do it. But if he's not, that's an interesting loss. And I think, you know, the Browns might have to take a hard look. There's a certain name I want to bring up real fast just to get y'all's temperature on him. Marquise Goodwin, if he's not able to come back, I think he called Juice back up. Say, come home.
Really?
What is the status of Jarvis Landry's health at the moment?
I mean, he finished the season on IR last year, I believe, for an ankle injury.
And he's still unsigned.
He's still unsigned. The last that I read, because he's available in fantasy league, so I kind of do a little digging and stuff like that. But the last that I saw, he was just waiting for the right opportunity, something along those lines. So to me, that says I'm waiting for another guy to go down, and then I'm going to jump on a roster right as training camp is either ending or getting going. I'm missing some of training camp, and then I'm getting on a roster. It's surprising he's not signed. I know he didn't do anything last year for New Orleans, but I love some Jarvis Landry. I just don't know. I don't know if it works. You know what I mean?
That's not the Marquise Goodwin style of player replacement. That's more of now we have two David Bells.
You're right. I like, as far as leadership and like veteran in the locker room, you're probably getting a guy that is better than Goodwin, which is crazy. You know what I mean? But and Josh has said this. We've all said this. Jarvis Landry reinvented the culture of Cleveland Browns football when he landed. And he took a fan base and even a team that people thought will never be successful, don't know how to win, and brought a little life to it. I always remember Hard Knocks just like, wow, this is a guy that we have in Cleveland. This is not the type of personality that we have in the locker room. This is
contagious, Justin.
It's contagious. I'm used to, a receiver signing a huge contract and then catching like 7 balls the entire season.
Odell Beckham in Baltimore.
I was just thinking like Dante Stallworth and, some of ours.
Quick as a side note, though, just because I like poking fun at Baltimore as much as possible, I did hear that he was quoted as saying he's pretty sure this is going to be his last year.
Really? Wow.
OBJ?
So he just signed that big deal with them, and already he's like, I think this is probably it for me. It does not bode well for his
it's
outlook.
Tough. It's tough because when his career started taking off, for me personally, he was like one of those guys where I was like, this guy is transcendent. Like, he is a once-in-a-generation talent as far as a receiver. He was a guy that I thought would be a shoe-in Hall of Famer, and I don't even know that you can even easily put him in the Hall of Fame just with how things kind of fell apart health-wise. And we'll see. We'll see what he has
finally
this year.
got a Super Bowl.
That's true.
That's about it.
That's true. And he probably would have got an MVP, too, if he didn't get hurt.
He was playing well.
He was playing well that game.
So as far as Jarvis goes,
I'm not on board, man.
Love Jarvis the guy. Don't know if Jarvis the player is what we need. I mean, what do you think, Derek? You brought him up. You want him?
Well, here's the thing, because I think we're keeping 7 receivers. I think, for the offense we're heading to, that's where I see the roster layout going.
The way these injuries are going.
So, that too. So I almost view it like, the guy I talked about last week, Jaelon Darden, right? Mm-hmm. If you were to bring in a Jarvis Landry and have him kind of be, like you said, another David Bell, but a veteran who can help you in that room, and then throw somebody like a Darden on the roster, that would give you, and again, I talk about this a lot, but the healthy rotation of different types of players, right? Even though they're all wide receivers, they're all good at different things. So, if you throw in a Jarvis Landry, it might be another David Bell, but what if David Bell doesn't come out and step up like we hope he does? There's value there having that veteran. And then also on the flip side, okay, you want speed? Here's a guy, coming out of Tampa who was solid, just, dealt with some issues, comes to Cleveland, and who knows? Who knows what he could do? So Jarvis, the other thing with that is there's not a whole lot of options. So we can get picky with who you want to bring in. But if I had my choice, if Goodwin were out for a lengthy period of time, bring back somebody who knows Cleveland, who knows Stefanski, and run it back with a better quarterback. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Browns fans would hate seeing Jarvis Landry back on the team. It's definitely something to monitor.
I think there's just 2 things for me. The one is, I don't think he's going to expect a ton of money, but I don't think we're going to pay him really hardly anything, because I think that they're comfortable with what they've got. I know we have a rash of injuries right now. It's day 1 in training camp. We still are a ways out, but I think that they already have a better version of that player with Elijah Moore. Like, just with what they're talking about, what this kid's going to do out of the slot, or even just how they're going to rotate him around, is I think we have a better version of that. But on your point with what's his name, Jaelon Darden?
Yeah.
They were talking about him today, man. Cleveland Browns announced that he's just he's making some highlights and stuff like that. So interesting name to watch. He's kind of on the radar, but here we go.
I did have one camp note. The report I saw had Darden and DPJ returning punts.
Correct. Okay.
So
Yep.
That's a good sign.
Which is a big thing.
So
because Jakeem Grant, with that kick return rule changing, that role is no longer as important. So if you can slide in, and I talked about this, you can slide in a guy who's really cheap and can give you a little bit more in the receiving game. It just makes too much sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we were talking about the Marquise Goodwin injury, and I think signing a guy like Jarvis becomes more unlikely because of we felt Marquise Goodwin was replacing or kind of pushing off another guy off the roster, and that's Anthony Schwartz.
Correct.
So when the news came out about Goodwin, it was like, wow, Schwartz might actually make this roster by the skin of his teeth. He's on the NFI list now with a hamstring injury to start camp.
Which is
every year.
It's so for me, a guy that had to stay healthy and had to perform and show up and look like all the flaws had got worked out in the offseason. Not a good start. Not a good start, man. Like, To me, and maybe I'm just crazy, and when I say this about stuff, to me, he's an automatic cut. Like, the only thing is, like, is Andrew Berry really, really, let's see how invested he is in his draft picks. That's what we're at. Because talent-wise, maybe he could be everything and more, but it hasn't shown up on the field and for multiple seasons, and it's a liability at the end of the day. Especially when you can take a young guy, like Derek said, and put him in that roster spot. Give me the guy with the upside where there's opportunity, even though they're almost the same guy. Give another guy an opportunity. I'm good. I'm good on Schwartz.
Derek,
well, you guys went to some games last year.
Oh, yeah.
I went to two regular season games, and I made it a point to watch Anthony Schwartz just to see, because it's one thing to watch it on TV or watch the film, but in person, just to kind of see tendencies and stuff like that. That dude, God bless him, seems like a nice guy. He sucks. I'm sorry. I wish he would work out, but he's terrible. He's put in work, right? So I don't want to be disrespectful or anything like that. Obviously, he's gotten to this level. Good for him. But the Browns cannot afford to waste a spot in this wide receiver room on him. He has done nothing, like you said, Justin, over the last, he's going on his, third year, fourth year now? Third year. He's done nothing. He's taken, one end around? Actually, I'm sorry. I take that back. He hasn't done nothing. He got us Deshaun Watson. Always going to be thankful for that. But with that being said, outside, maybe he could switch to front office. He might be better at that. But on the football field, I'm sorry, dude. You got to go. And you just got to go.
Like you were saying, there was times at games last year where I sit, it's just bodies. You're up in space, basically. So there would be, which is great for play development. You can see everything. There would be multiple times where I want to say it was either the Baltimore game or the Tampa Bay game. It was a late season game and it was cold. It wasn't enjoyable. I want to say it was Jacoby. Maybe it was before that. Maybe it was Tampa Bay, but threw a huge, it was like a 50-yard just bomb down the field, and Schwartz had the guy, had 2 steps on him easy, and just went right off his hands. And as soon as everybody realized who the ball was going to, it was just immediate, just and we all knew what was coming. And that's super tough for that kid too, because mentally, that's got to be absolutely devastating, because that's what you're working on.
He has talked about he has struggled with some mental health, and I'm sure that a lot of that is tied to confidence. That happens to a ton of athletes. When you see these athletes that have all world traits and skills and speed and things like that, and they just don't do anything with it, a lot of it is confidence issues. It's a real thing. I'm not trying to knock him for that. It's just you either can or you can't, and right now he can't.
My thing is, he's not like a scrub either. All the talent, all the ability, just has to put it together. And this is like the kind of situation where this guy will leave, and 2 or 3 seasons from now, we'll just see it reemerge. Maybe
this one I don't know. He plays too scared. He plays too afraid.
That's fair. My thing just has the talent. Just figure it out, man. You have to figure it out fast.
I will say, with these injuries piling up and things like that, and what we're seeing in camp, and I'm telling you guys, anybody I still have people trying to tell me David Bell's not making this team.
Yes, he is.
David Bell's definitely making this team, and David Bell will have a role. Yeah. You will see. I pulled this out all the time. He played on almost 50% of the team's offensive snaps last season, and then I had somebody tell me, "Oh yeah, well only 50%." I said, David Bell's only playing on 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah.
You got Amari and DPJ. He's not playing on 2 wide receiver sets. How much of the time did they run 3 receiver sets?
Not
55%.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So 5 or 6% of the time he was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was on the field a lot.
But that's the thing. I think that's just Browns fans reacting to last year too.
Yeah.
Because we all had expectations for David Bell going into last year, and he did not
miss training camp.
Yeah, didn't meet it. Based on, and it wasn't like it was 100% him. I felt like he was very, it seemed like targets were few and far between.
He missed training camp. He missed the preseason. He had no chemistry built up with Jacoby Brissett. We saw Jacoby was even hesitant to throw the ball to Amari Cooper in week 1. It took him 3 or 4 weeks to get comfortable with DPJ. There was no way this backup quarterback with no previous chemistry or rapport with David Bell, a rookie, was going to David Bell's never the first read.
Right.
And Jacoby was a first read quarterback. Am I right?
I'm fair.
He was very efficient with that. So by the time the progression got to David, it never got there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be different this year for David Bell.
And David Bell was open.
Yes.
He got open last year. Kind of what I talked about with Schwartz, just trying to pay attention to guys. David Bell is a really good route runner.
Yes.
He's a very good route runner. He actually looks faster on the field than, all the talk coming into the NFL and throughout the draft and scouting combines and all that. It's like, oh, this guy's so slow.
Right.
Well, he played faster, at least in my opinion, what I've saw of him. He looked good. He looked fine. It's just, like you said, that rookie year started off with injuries and inconsistencies and the off-the-field stuff. That doesn't just affect Deshaun Watson. That entire locker room felt that last year. So this year 2, he's healthy. What I've seen of him looks good. And you got to understand, this dude in college was a game record.
Yes.
Right? So he's coming in to year 2 in a little bit more of a passing offense. He's not going to have a huge role, but they're going to, improve what his usage is. And no way is Andrew Berry cutting him.
No.
He's a 3rd-round pick. He's held on to Schwartz for 2 years longer than he should have. You think he's going to cut David Bell after 1 year? No.
Yeah.
Of course not.
We need to really understand that 40 speed is just like a pretty thing. Like it's different than game speed because Anthony Schwartz had the great 40 speed, the great 40 time. That doesn't really translate to the field. So, I mean, you could be an edge rusher with a great 40 time, but if you can't get off your block, if you can't get a move on a guy,
You're just a fast, big guy.
yeah, you're just a fast big guy running into blocks. It doesn't work. So you got to be able to play fast, and David Bell definitely plays fast. That's a good point, Derek. I guess this is kind of the last injury note we need to talk about. Again, we are staying in the wide receiver room, and it's Amari Cooper. Unfortunately, our wide receiver 1 has, as far as last I checked, an undisclosed injury. They didn't say what it was.
Just a tweak.
Kevin called it a minor tweak, but they did confirm it is not a long-term concern and is also not related to the off-season core muscle surgery that he had. So,
Well, thank God.
right.
Well, thank God. For me, Browns fans, don't panic. We're going to be okay. This is literally, they're saying it's not a long-term thing. We're fine. Let's get him healthy. Let's get to week 1. No big deal.
Yep. I mean, it could just honestly be he stepped wrong or something, came up a little bit, gimpy on one play, and they said, why don't you just sit over here and
we saw him play hurt well last year. So,
how, yeah. So, I mean, if they're not concerned about it, then I think
as long
we're
as it's
okay.
not a lingering thing, I have no worries at all.
Right.
And this might sound stupid to say this, and I know there's
I'm excited.
by all
Here we
means.
go. Yeah, go ahead. Speak away, brother.
It's going to absolutely rip me to shreds like usual over something like this. But in my opinion, I kind of, I almost view this as a blessing in disguise for one reason. Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson already have a connection, right? In the 6 games that Deshaun played, he already established that a relationship with Amari Cooper fairly early on. So I'm not saying that can't get better, not that I don't want them to get work, but again, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, originally Goodwin, but there's a lot of guys, and including your David Bell types, who need to get as much work as possible. And getting work with first team reps and kind of, rotating those types of guys in, I think that's going to actually work out pretty well. Obviously, nobody's replacing Amari Cooper, obviously. But opportunities don't come. So, even if it is a week, 2 weeks, just getting those guys rotated in and seeing who can do what, I think it could be, a little bit useful. Obviously not a good thing, but not all bad things are 100% bad.
Derek, that was not a stupid thing you said. That made a lot of sense.
Well, stay tuned, because I'm sure the comment section will be like, "Oh, you want Amari Cooper to be out for the year?"
I get your take on it, man. It makes sense,
Yeah, it's definitely
let the young
a good
guys
point.
get reps. It's fine. If we're gonna have an injury to our number 1, okay.
Yeah. In response to some of these injuries, the Browns did sign another receiver, Austin Watkins Jr., 6'3", 210 pounds. He was an undrafted free agent back in 2021 by the 49ers. He was kind of like a practice squad guy for them, and he spent time with Tampa Bay last year. So that's kind of the body they brought in. He's currently wearing Jarvis's number 80 at practice. For anybody keeping track, I don't know.
Another reason not to sign Jarvis. Don't get mad, Cleveland. The jersey's taken.
This episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, summer's in full swing, and you know what that means. Temperatures are hot, grills are hot, and the deals are even hotter at Omaha Steaks. Right now, get the Hotter Than Fire package at omahasteaks.com. America's original butcher is heating up the summer with blazing hot deals on mouthwatering grilling favorites, guaranteed to tantalize your taste buds. Go to omahasteaks.com right now, enter code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S, into the search bar, and for a limited time, you can score 32 delicious grilling essentials, including 12 free burgers from Omaha Steaks for just $99.99. You'll get 4 of their world-famous fork tender filet mignons, 4 air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, 4 boneless pork chops, 4 gourmet jumbo franks, and so much more for 62% off the regular price. The Hotter Than Fire pack is your chance to score unreal savings on unrivaled quality from America's original butcher. Right now, go to omahasteaks.com, use code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S, in the search bar to order today. This exclusive offer is only available for a limited time. You're not going to want to miss this. Get your grilling essentials now for the rest of your summer barbecues. Hurry over to omahasteaks.com, code DAWGS, in the search bar, Hotter Than Fire pack. Get all 32 grilling items for just $99.99. That includes your 12 free burgers. Remember, omahasteaks.com, code DAWGS, in the search bar.
So before we dive into the good news from camp and the Deshaun Watson stuff I want to talk about, let's kind of do between bad news and good news, we're going to talk about interesting news, and it's Nick Chubb actually spoke out about something.
Yeah, I feel like everyone can say that we're definitely, we work harder than what we're valued. I mean, anyone would tell you that. I mean, some guys in the meeting yesterday said if you, for like a team scout, let's say Monday, we're playing a different team, and the team meeting, the head coach is going to bring up their running back. You know, the first person they'll bring up is how good is their running back? How can we stop him? And that's every team. I mean, I feel like every team, the running back that gets the team going. You know, we cowbell when we need something big, make a big play or a big run. You know, everybody's gonna look to the running back.
He's letting his voice be heard, which is not like him. So I feel like that's when Nick Chubb speaks out about something, you should probably pay attention because it's probably pretty important. And he's speaking out about the running back situation right now in the NFL. We found out today that Saquon Barkley did get a 1-year deal with
the incentives and stuff. It's just a little bit over the franchise
tag. Yep. So
he's basically saying, I'm going to go out here and earn this money, and then I'm guessing he's probably either going to make a lot of money with another team or New York's going to pony up. But
yeah. So you got guys like Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard still playing on the franchise tag. So some of these bigger name backs, have not gotten paid. Nick Chubb jumped on a Zoom call on Saturday night that was organized by Chargers running back Austin Eckler. They had like the top backs in the league, the studs, the stars, like Derrick Henry. I think CMC was in there.
I saw the list of it. It was like
Barkley, Jacobs.
It was the big dog. It was like the top 8. They were all in there.
Yeah. So he's really speaking out, supporting that position. I wish I didn't have the comment in front of me, but he made a very good point in one of his interviews that I thought was interesting. He said the running back position is the only position where more production actually hurts them financially because he said if we go out there and have a 2,000-yard season, the next year when we go to get paid, they'll just say, you're already worn down.
Yep.
So more production out of that position actually means less of a future financially by these teams, which I hadn't thought of it that way. That was a really good point that he made.
It's the running back market. It's so crazy to me. It's all in the last like few years. Like you couldn't pay a top number 1 running back fast enough 5 years ago. So do I get that there should be some nervousness about signing a running back just based off what we've seen, like with help me out, Todd Gurley, or another backs wearing out.
Zeke.
I wouldn't even throw Zeke in there like that yet.
No,
not yet. But like to me,
Melvin Gordon. guys like that.
But, okay. He's still in the league, though. He's still in the league.
Yeah.
But for what Austin Eckler is saying, like, it's crazy to me, a guy that can be that productive for his team is making less than a backup wide receiver. That is criminal. And the numbers, it's not even like a numbers game where it's like, oh, well, his production. He had 12 more touchdowns than I think the next running back or something like that.
I thought it was the next player over the last 2 years.
Okay.
I think it's over the last 2 years. He's got 12 more than any other player.
I argue with people about this, and they're like, well, you can't pay a running back. And I'm just like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And if you have one of those guys, you pay those guys. If Cleveland were to let Nick Chubb walk because they didn't want to pay him, I don't know if, or even let's say if we had another one of those guys, maybe not Derrick Henry, if, according to your running back age math. But if you have a Josh Jacobs who last year just absolutely went crazy and was basically one of the main offensive weapons of that team, I don't understand how you don't just reward a guy. Did we not just... For quarterbacks, if you have a high production, you get paid.
Yes.
If you're a wide receiver,
Yes.
you get paid. If you're a defensive end, you get paid.
Cornerback.
Anything.
Yep.
Every position. But if you're a running back, it's just, I'm sure we'll sign an undrafted free agent. His production may be similar. That's the craziest thing ever. That's like getting the last pick in, let's say your pickup game at, kickball or something. You're like, I'd rather have the last pick. He's just as good as the number one pick. No, stop, guys. That doesn't make any sense.
Right, like a wide receiver goes out there and they're like, oh, he played 98% of the snaps last season. Like, he's a stud. He's one of their top players. He's going to get paid. The running back went out there and played 90% of the carries. Well, they can't pay him. He's already worn down.
It's a competition in every other position.
Yeah.
Quarterback, who's going to be the next highest paid guy? Wide receiver, I want to be the highest paid wide receiver. And running back even was like that for a little bit. But I don't get it. And I understand like the front office aspect of it. Like, I get it, but to me, it's so mind-blowing.
They said the two positions where the value of the franchise tag for that position, like every year it goes up.
Correct.
So like this year, quarterback on the franchise tag gets paid more than last year.
So top five, right? Top five average?
I think it's the average of the top five paid at that
It's the
position.
average, yep.
So running back and linebacker have steadily each year gone down.
Going down.
Yeah.
Yep.
The value of the franchise tag keeps going down.
What's crazy is you have a guy like Dalvin Cook, who is a free agent.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember 2 years ago where if Dalvin Cook was on the trade market, you would have got 2-3 first-round picks for him. And this is a guy who's on the open market. And it sucks because Nick Chubb finally, not steal the Rock's lines, but finally is being acknowledged for how good he is. I mean, we've known Nick Chubb, his rookie year, first game, 3 carries, 2 of them were touchdowns against the Raiders. And, we had to literally cut
Carlos Hyde.
Help me out. Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
We had to cut Carlos Hyde for Chubb to get playing time. And over the course of Chubb's career, he's just gotten better and better, and he's unstoppable. But like he said, he could come out next year and put up 800 touchdowns and 10,000 yards. Obviously not, but whatever. Just superhuman levels, greatest running back of all time, and get paid less because 1 year more of experience and age went up a year. It's sad, but it's a reality because you see teams like the Detroit Lions who spent a pick on DeAndre Swift and then turn around this year and draft Jahmyr Gibbs and just trade him off. This is what the NFL is, and it sucks. But at the same time, in my opinion, unless you are CMC, Nick Chubb, one of these top guys, you're movable.
I completely agree.
It just shows you how special the Nick Chubbs of the world are. And no, we should not trade him. No, we should not cut him. I don't care. I don't care if it means giving up a lot of cap. Nick Chubb has to retire at Cleveland Brown. He just has to.
I completely, and you completely just took my idea right as I was getting ready to say it, but I think over the next few years, no, you're good, brother. I completely agree with you. Over the next few years, I think you're going to see almost like a tier system for running backs. You're going to have your elite guys, and they are going to get paid. And I think that's your Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, right now. CMC. These guys are still going to get money because their projection is you can't replace that. Now, like some of these other guys, I could see it being like a James Cook rising up. What's James Cook's market going to be when he gets ready to sign a contract? I mean, as of right now, it's not huge.
No.
But, I mean.
But Justin, you know what? You made a point earlier, and you're right. And I hate to put the blame on one guy because it's not just one guy. But I think Todd Gurley has absolutely screwed over every superstar running back in the NFL today.
Or Le'Veon Bell.
I was going to say Bell.
Le'Veon Bell too, man. Yep.
Or Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Yep. Because those guys were the can't miss, have to have them superstars. And, Le'Veon Bell's a little bit different. It's not the same, but like Todd Gurley, man, was unstoppable. Yeah. And then he had the knee problems. Now he's not, nobody even talks about Todd Gurley anymore. Like he's just gone. So that scares these teams off from these other guys. And it's not fair. It's not fair for Nick Chubb. It's not fair for Saquon. It's not fair for these guys, but it's the reality.
Right.
So who knows?
It's crazy because they're so important to the scheme of the offense for those teams. Like the teams that you're saying, what is New York without Saquon Barkley? And whatever you feel about injuries or anything like that with him, take that off the table. When he's not there, that's a different team. You're leaning completely on Daniel Jones and Matt Breida. If I'm New York, I could sign me up for 4 years right now. This is my future. This is my guy, especially if he stays healthy. It's just crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy.
I think it's just an interesting situation to monitor to see, this year, how does this kind of play out with some of these running backs? What's their production look like? What's their performance? What do they get paid going into next year? How do the contracts shake out? How do they play after that contract? It's kind of in their ballpark right now. I mean, I feel like guys like Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb to an extent, they're more in this conversation for support.
Yeah.
Because, they've already proven it. You know what I mean? Their production level, and especially a guy like Derrick Henry who's pushing 30 already, he's not out there trying to get a big 5-year contract, massive deal. It's more, let's show support for these younger guys that are coming up, the Breece Halls, the Bijan Robinsons, these guys that we know are going to be studs in the NFL as long as they're healthy. We need to lay a foundation for them. Yeah, Dameon Pierce, sure.
I'm curious if, let's say, Derrick Henry was like a free agent right now, what the market would be like. Or a CMC. I feel like CMC would be like, hey, everybody's in on him. You know what I mean? But I'd just be curious because I feel like Saquon, he's got a little bit of injuries, but that's a guy, and if you're a franchise, I feel like that's an automatic lock. Austin Eckler, especially if he's like, I just want like a 2-year deal, automatic. I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't know. But it's definitely a hot topic right now. So, and our guy got involved and he's speaking up about it. So that was pretty important we touch on it too. So, all right. So now let's move on to the good news out of camp, or at least the positive reports. They say that Deshaun Watson looks like prime Deshaun Watson, and Kevin Stefanski is very excited.
So just hear me out here, guys.
Oh, are you going to down this?
No, I'm not going to down it, but for my entire life, this is what training camp sounds like. Like, oh man, we look prime, we look ready, we're ready to go. My thing is, and I know it's kind of closed off and you're seeing videos and it's like little things like that. I'd love to just go and see it in person, which we're going to do that. Yeah. And then for me, translation to week 1. My God, you guys better be ready week 1 because you're going into the fight for your lives right off the bat. That is going to be a scrappy, nasty game right off the bat. So my thing is I'm excited, and I hope that he does look like elite Deshaun Watson. I'm excited for that. We need elite Deshaun Watson. If we don't get anything but elite Deshaun Watson, our franchise is in big trouble.
Sure, and I think we knew that when we traded for him.
Absolutely, you need that. Yep.
So Watson was asked about like the chemistry with the receivers and things like that, and I'm going to play a clip here, and then just pay attention to one name in particular. You've already mentioned it
I know
in
the
this
name,
show, so we'll just hear what he has to say.
It's great because Elijah can do all types of things. He's very versatile. He can play outside, inside, whatever you need him to do, he can do. But also just the young guys and the depth that we have in that receiver room. Yeah, a lot of guys might not have big names yet, but they can go out there and they can make plays. And being able to, hang around Amari, hang around DPJ, hang around Elijah, the young guys are being able to, channel that opportunity, that grind, that work, and be able to go out here and participate and be locked in and focused. And, that's what we've been able to see. And we want to have depth and, everyone be able to have the opportunity to make plays.
So he talked about the young guys learning from a couple names, Amari, DPJ, and Elijah Moore was included in that list of guys that Deshaun is happy the young guys get to learn from.
Yep.
So that tells me, and I don't know about you guys, I'll let you weigh in, but it tells me that Elijah Moore is not just showing out at camp and everything. He's making his presence felt, and he's a leader.
Everything that I see coming out of camp, and even just little articles here and there, this guy's going to be everywhere. I saw him take a handoff today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
I'm just like, okay. So for me, it's very, very exciting. Doesn't Deshaun Watson just sound so different this year? Just like in his
Confidence
answering,
back.
confidence, just different. It just feels different, and they've said that. I think he just kind of, the experience of getting the whole full off season, most of this crap is gone. Just kind of a different guy. And I'm hoping it translates.
Yeah. Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, it is kind of weird to hear Elijah Moore's name being thrown in with as if he's a vet, because we've really not seen a whole lot of Elijah Moore top level play in the NFL, and you can't really blame him for that. But what we've seen coming out of camp, it's so promising because, again, all we've heard is, the offense is going to be more passing. Well, if that's the case, then the role that I see laid out right now for Elijah Moore is he's going to be our version of Deebo Samuel. He's going to be our version of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that gets me excited because I absolutely love those two players. But more specifically, I love the role that they have for them because they're not just limited to a certain spot. Like Elijah Moore, the ability to move him around as much as, they're going to, that's going to open things up for so many others. And Stefanski, whether if the fan base wants to give him credit or not, is a really good play designer. He can get guys open. And if he can use Elijah Moore kind of as that chess piece and move him across the board, that just opens up more creativity to get guys like Tillman on the field in year one. And just guys like that who maybe won't get as much playing time, but because you have a do-it-all player like Elijah Moore, it's going to open up so much more. And I couldn't be more excited because guess what? If you have somebody else you can throw into the backfield, then what else happens with Nick Chubb? Because originally it was, hey, man, the Browns are lining up in pistol. Imagine that Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb option. What are you going to do there? Well, guess what? Now you have Elijah Moore in the backfield as well.
Right.
So, good luck.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you guys think, I put this in here because this is honestly what I believe, but I think Elijah Moore has a big season this year, and I think Elijah Moore easily could be the wide receiver 1 for the Browns as soon as next year.
I don't think it's crazy. I'm curious because training camp time. Everybody, we hear this every year. These guys are getting focused on. Amari Cooper last year was such a big part of the offense. It's hard for me to think that they'd completely move away from that. It just depends on production.
I'm not saying Amari Cooper's not here.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying do I think that there could be multiple guys that could easily go over 1,000 yards? So I think Amari Cooper, if he's healthy, is going over 1,000, right?
Yeah.
I would almost bank on that if he's healthy. Do I think Elijah Moore can also go over 1,000 yards? I mean, if they're doing what they're saying and the scheme is pretty much built around him, I guess so. But it's crazy because we got him for a 3rd round pick, basically. It's nuts that we're going to get that kind of production, and he could possibly become the number 1. Well, I mean, do you think he's going to be the number 1? I don't know, man.
Derek, what do you think? No, I'm not saying this year. I'm not saying this year.
Yeah,
I'm
think
saying
it's still Amari's.
that eventually, by the time he reaches his second contract, it will be with the Browns, and it will be as the top dog in that receiver room.
Yeah. I don't see him, and this is kind of because if you go back and remember, I stirred the pot when we traded for him because I wanted a Jerry Jeudy trade. The reason why I was upset with that whole situation is because I don't view Elijah Moore. I guess maybe my definition of a number one receiver is a lot different than maybe a couple other people's. But for me, I'm not saying he can't be, because I certainly think he could be. But if you're talking next season or the season after that, I can't say that for sure until I see it, because it determines who you have around you, right? I talked about Deebo Samuel. Well, guess what? Brandon Ayuk is a stud. Mm-hmm. He's a very good football player, very good wide receiver. And also they have George Kittle. So you could sit there and say, yeah, Deebo's their number one. Well, there's help there. So in 2 to 3 years, maybe, but I just can't, without seeing it on the field first, and it's impossible to know who is going to be in this wide receiver room. Obviously Tillman, obviously Elijah Moore, David Bell. Those are kind of your three right now, but I don't know. It's a wait and see thing for me, but I certainly hope so, because this kid, go back and watch him in college. Forget the NFL. Just go back and watch him pre-draft. This dude can do it all, and that's why we're letting him do it all. The Jets limited him to this little role with a terrible quarterback, and you haven't even seen Elijah Moore yet. Yeah. So,
I mean, there's a reason he was almost a first-round pick. Was he pick 2 in the second?
Yeah.
Something like that. So
yeah, he basically was a first.
Yeah, essentially. But okay, so maybe I'm putting the cart a little before the horse. You guys are telling me it's okay. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee. I'm saying that with his talent, with what they invested in him to go get him, and if what you said, Justin, like if the scheming around him that they're talking about is actually happening and it does fulfill itself this season, I think he definitely levels up.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of to piggyback off of what Derek said too. I don't know if he'll ever be like a number one guy.
I'm talking one like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I mean, that's
I know what you mean, Derek. We're thinking like that big alpha dominant bully you.
Well, I'm saying like, could you see it where he picks up 1,400 yards?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking 100 plus receptions. Yes. Oof. That's what I'm talking about. Number one receiver. We'll see.
I don't think it's wild. I just think that I would be less surprised if it was Amari Cooper.
Well, I'm just saying not this year. Now this year I think he could push for 1,000. Elijah Moore. I think maybe he gets in that 900-ish range. Mm-hmm. Maybe he goes over 1,000. That'd be cool. But I'm talking down the road. We'll see. As with everything that we talk about on this show and in anything with sports, time will tell.
Yes.
We can only talk about what we've seen and what we think is going to happen. So
don't watch the old episodes.
Time
was extremely telling.
All right, so
we all got bad takes.
Yeah, that happens. Happens across all platforms, but we're running up against the time a little bit, so I think we'll table some of the Deshaun Watson stuff. And I just want to ask you guys, have you watched Quarterback on Netflix?
I watched the whole thing. I told you
you watched it. That's right.
Yeah.
Derek?
I have not. Okay. I have no life. I just go to work and go to the gym.
I posted this on Twitter. It's well worth the watch because, I know it follows Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, but it gives such a deep understanding and appreciation for the quarterback position. Yes. It's like, wow, okay, like I couldn't do this. You have to be a very, very special person to be able to do this, and to do it at a high level like those guys. It gave me a better understanding of what Deshaun Watson was going through last year. Like Kirk Cousins, I made this point. He had the entire offseason last year, training camp, preseason, everything with new head coach, Kevin O'Connell coming in, and they had a new offensive system and all that stuff. And it was the first play of week 2, not even week 1, the first play of week 2, where something, I forget the whole situation, but Kirk...
Didn't he audible it or something?
Yeah, and he's like, but I'm going to run him into a 5-man front. But he did it anyway, and he said, that's when I realized I'm not comfortable in the system yet. And that was week 2 after all that time of preparation with that. So, Deshaun I mean, yes, he had some training camp with us last year, but that got cut short. You know, when the suspension kicked in, he had to go.
Right.
And then he was away. And when he came back, it's an offense that's not tailored for him. It doesn't fit his strengths. He's cold. He hasn't been practicing. He has no chemistry with these receivers. I mean, for him to do even what he did last year was impressive, I think.
It is a.
Why do you think there's?
Go ahead, Derek.
Go ahead.
No, you're good, buddy.
Okay. I was just gonna say, why do you think there's so many busts at the quarterback position? It's because there are talented guys who come into the league, and I'm not gonna say the BM name, but talented guys who come into the league who they just don't have the work ethic. They don't have the work ethic. They don't have the time. They don't have the care and the energy to put in. I didn't get to watch it, but I did hear Kirk was talking about, like, as soon as he gets home, like, he correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, it's like he has a very limited time for family time. Everything else is 100% football, whether if it's film, whether if it's working out. That's the stuff you got to do. And let's be honest here, right? No shot at Kirk Cousins, but we're talking about Kirk Cousins, a guy who is a decent to good quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, he's better than that, dog. Don't do him like that. Keep going. He's better than that.
Okay, where would you rate Kirk Cousins?
I would say fringe top 10.
Blake's not here, so we're in a safe space. Safe space. Blake doesn't like
fringe top 10.
Kirk Cousins.
Okay, where do you put Deshaun Watson at?
Right 10. Now, going into this year, probably, I don't know, 15th, 16th. I'm just being honest. And I think I'm giving him a little bit of, I'm being nice. Because based on last year, I think you could slide him on last.
I won't base anything on last year, though.
Sure, I am very, hey, this is what I saw from you last year.
What have you done for me lately?
I can't live off of 2000
I'm going to get
Houston
you killed
Texans.
in the comments now.
No. I'm being honest. I don't know why we should just say he's automatically a top 10 quarterback. He didn't play like a top 10 quarterback last year. Am I wrong?
No, he did not. But
I don't think Cousins did either, though.
Okay, hey, that's fair. But that's the thing. Like, I think if you look at Kirk Cousins' and he played the whole season, and I'm not saying that's a knock either way on Deshaun Watson, but I'm saying he played well last year, played the whole season, led his team to a division title and the playoffs. Now they lost, but, and I'm not saying that's a knock on Watson either. I'm just saying.
Well, how about this then? Let's say, all right, so top 10, don't think about performance.
Okay.
If you are picking your quarterback for your franchise, are there 15 or 14 quarterbacks you want ahead of Deshaun Watson?
No.
Okay, that's where I say top 10 for me.
Okay, and that's fine, but I've been saying it all offseason. This is like I'll always be a Browns fan, always, for the rest of my life. But they have got to prove it to me. They have got to. I can't.
I know.
We got to stop crowning.
We're not crowning anybody. Not doing it. I look at last year and I say, I understand the context. Now, if he comes out this year and it's the same thing, yeah, we got some problems.
No, and I'm not saying, because of last year, I don't think that he's going to take a huge step forward. I'm just saying, based on last year, from what I saw, that is not top 10 quarterback stuff to me.
No, but if I was picking my ideal quarterback, I mean, he would definitely be inside my top 10.
That's fair. But, I am mad at you for that, brother.
Well, it's different. It's different than like Russell Wilson right now, because I feel bad. I feel horrible for Broncos fans, because not only have you paid the man before he played, which I guess we did too.
We did that, bro. Let's hold on now. Come on now, brother.
I know we did too.
Okay,
but he played off,
and it was season.
So bad, and this offseason, and they kind of had to do it. You know, I can't really blame them, but they invested even more in Russell Wilson by spending a first-round pick on a head coach.
Not just a head coach, bro. Not a head coach. Like Sean Payton, bro. Yeah. Like one of the best and the best available coach out there.
Yeah.
And to me, call me crazy, I think Russell Wilson's about to have a nice year. I think that coach signing is way bigger than people are giving it credit for. He had a head coach that had no idea what was going on last year, and then they fired him and brought a guy in that absolutely had no. And I know everybody was let Russ cook. No. You're getting into a structured offense with Sean Payton. This is going to be okay.
That's another thing that the quarterback show really helps solidify is your head coach or whatever play caller relationship and your quarterback. That matters. Yeah, critical. Absolutely. And I mean, I know that Russell Wilson's been in the league for a long time. It's not the same as a guy like Trevor Lawrence, but you did see a massive jump year 1 to year 2. What'd they do? They got rid of Urban Meyer, the joke that was down there in Jacksonville, brought in a real head coach, great relationship, worked with Trevor Lawrence, and look what he did. Mm-hmm. So I think that Russell can't be worse. And I don't think Deshaun can be worse. So
that's right.
It's not a high bar, though. Can't be worse than Russ last year.
No. But anything else you guys want to throw in before we wrap up the episode?
Completely random, but I just want to throw this out here. Yesterday night, I saw, you guys have seen me. I'm not a small human being. I saw the biggest human I've ever seen in my life in person last night. This dude had to have been from a Viking family, and I'm not joking. I thought Brock Lesnar was standing in front of me at one point. And I don't know. Obviously, very random. Doesn't apply to us at all. I just wanted to point it out because
my ADHD in my head, I was thinking I just wanted to be like, "Where'd you take her to dinner?" And the other side, I literally was just like, "I gotta lock it out. Lock it out."
Dialed it. I was saying,
"Nah, I'm just kidding." That's exciting.
It would have been really big for me and Justin because we are not.
I am very
beings,
small, very not tall. But very not skinny anymore.
Let me tell you something. I had to dip out of there. This guy followed me. I was doing back rows. I look up and I'm staring at this monster in front of me, and I'm like, "Geez." So I'm like, "All right, let's move on." Just so I don't look at this guy the wrong way. I go over to do triceps. Well, the Viking follows me over there. I saw my my buddy on my way out. I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm done for the day. I'm done. I'm out. But yeah, not that matters at all. Just wanted to share it because it's biggest human I've ever seen in my life.
Very cool.
Well, whether you're a big human, small human, somewhere in between, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 7,000 subscribers by the end of next week if we possibly can. And we're pretty darn close. We're just a little over 100 away. So we've been cruising. That's the goal.
Watch him comment. Watch him comment.
Yeah, I'd be like, that was me, dude. That was me.
That was me.
Why were you crying in the locker room, bro?
Before we go, just want to make sure I remind everybody. I don't even know if remind. This might be the first time I said it. Next week, Friday, we are planning to do a live YouTube live. It'll be me, Justin, and Kenny Max coming down from Ottawa. He'll be here for Hall of Fame weekend. Me and Justin will be up at the parade doing some. We actually got media credentials this year, so we're going to be doing media up there. And then we'll also, me and Blake will be at the enshrinement.
I'm going to roll up
Kenny
there
Mack's going to be there with us too. So it's just going to be a ton of fun. A lot of content coming out on Sunday from Hall of Fame weekend. So stay tuned. That's why I say that. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of that stuff or the stuff coming up throughout the summer. So that's a wrap. Appreciate everybody checking out the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.